So I'm here in the buyer agent compensation guide for home sellers, particularly in California, because that's where I'm a licensed attorney and broker. But I think this will be super useful for everybody because as far as I know, what I'm saying today is applying in some way or another to many, many states. Now, in the first section, I gave my introduction, and now we're up to recent legal developments which impact how you sell your home. And it's particularly important that buyer agent compensation is not discussed on the same day as the listing agent compensation. I'm going to get into that in the video. I've already made the outline. Let's see how well I can follow the outline without getting too far astray. Okay, so this is all about the timing of buyer agent compensation discussions. I can go into much more detail in Q&As that I'm willing to have with everybody who becomes a member. Let me just say that this course is set up right now with the intention of you've already got a listing agent, you've listed with them, they've gone through the listing agreement with you. We've decoupled the MLS and in response to the Department of Justice has decoupled buyer agent commission and listing agent commission. So you've just discussed with your listing agent how much you want to pay him or her to sell your home. So that could be a flat fee, it could be 3%, it could be a percentage less. Now that's where we are. Your listing agent in California, they've changed the laws so they don't have any forms where they can discuss with you offers of negotiation to offers of compensation to buyers agents. So you can't just decide ahead of time right now, given their forms, that you want to give 2% to buyers agents, and your agent cannot broadcast it, particularly on places where there are MLS feeds. So right now, you're just discussing with your listing agent. Maybe you've signed a listing agreement. Let's say it's for 30 days or 24-hour cancellation. It would be my advice that it's not too long because we don't really know how this is going to all pan out yet. The home selling process has changed significantly. So build in some flexibilities, even if you have to maybe have a financial buyout. You want to talk to your agent about that. I'm going to talk to agents about this. Now, that's my opinion. There's always exceptions. That's why real estate's local and you're going to be dealing with your agent in your local market. I'm going to be talking about the laws here and giving you some advice. So, now, let's go over the reasons for the changes. There were class action suits against the National Association of Realtors, California Association of Realtors, and very large brokerages. NAR and the very large brokerages have settled out for dozens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Some of the ones may have been under 100, but if you put it all together, it was over 500 million, I believe. The jury rang them up for a verdict of billions. Over $1 billion. So we know that judges and juries are not happy with real estate agents. That's just a fact. My friends are judges. My friends are real estate agents. When I go to get-togethers, when I was younger, it'd be parties with them, and they find out I'm a realtor, I hear nothing but venom, especially about the nice car. They're driving nicer cars than me, and they don't know anything. I mean, that's a common refrain in the legal industry. It's a common refrain just about everywhere outside of the bubble that real estate agents are in. And I'm sorry, and we have to understand the risk is, and I'm sure the lawyers for all these agents tell them, the risk is realtors are going to lose almost all their lawsuits when it comes to compensation. Now, okay, so now this is very, very important. This is why I've been saying in my videos, not just the most recent videos, but the ones that when these were just coming up, realtors cannot advise sellers about offering compensation to buyer's agents and minimizing the risk because they're not licensed to do it. I'm personally pretty confident that it's now, let me just pull it up so you can see, it's August 21st. Sometime in the last 30 or 40 days, the California Association of Realtors is still going to come out with forms that enable the business as usual. And just like maybe they were going to put the compensation in other areas. They were going to let realtors negotiate compensation from what I could tell with those forms. And the Department of Justice said, no, we hate those forms. It's not going to happen. And all of a sudden, about face, and now the listing forms, when your listing agent's talking to you, they don't have a box for compensation to buyer's agents. The MLS, this part we knew. This was part of the class action. The MLS does not have an area for compensation for buyer's agents. I believe that there's all sorts of fines now on the MLS for people trying to sneak in their compensation for buyer's agents. So it can't be on the MLS. Can't be on the listing agreement, and incredibly now, there are no forms. California says you're going to have to get those forms elsewhere. Or at least it was either California Association of Realtors or the CRMLS said when I was discussing this, there are no forms for listing agents to discuss and negotiate the buyer agent compensation level for buyer's agents. If you're going to do that, you got to get the form for somewhere else. And that's pretty much. And I had another video explaining, they said if you're going to compensate buyer's agents, you have to discuss it with a real estate professional. When Carr uses those terms, that means lawyer. So that's why I'm here. And I've got a program for real estate agents to work with me and work with you so that you can still sell your home for top dollar. Because let me just say, it is vital. There are times when a seller is going to want to compensate buyer's agents to sell their home. They do it in commercial real estate on deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Realtors have been doing it for years. It's still allowed under California law. It's just that the realtors, the members of the National Association of Realtors, got themselves in a pickle. Not every real estate agent is a realtor. They just dominate the area and the MLS. But let me just explain that NAR rules are not the law in California. And unfortunately, I suspect they're probably lobbying for changes now, and we've got to stop those. Because right now, we cannot hurt sellers. Sellers, you can have the option, pay zero to buyer's agent. Well, you can start off, pay zero to your listing agent, but you're negotiating that. You're saying, I'd rather work with a listing agent who's going to be doing all the stuff for me and marketing my home and guiding me through the transaction than do it myself. So that's the compensation you're paying your listing agent. Now, are you going to pay buyer's agents? Well, there are times when paying a buyer's agent will help you get a higher net. Let's say you want to sell quickly. Let's say you want to choose from, your area's got multiple offers, and you know that if you do the process well and that buyers feel comfortable and they realize there's other offers already on the table, so and they're represented and they feel comfortable that they're not getting cheated, that the process is fair, and again, they feel comfortable, they feel protected, they may pay a lot more for your home. Maybe not every time, but sometimes. There are times when offering compensation to buyer's agents will unquestionably increase the net to you. So my suggestion, I'll just go right to the point, is that, and we'll be discussing this more in another video, is that you list your home, depending on how fast you have to sell, you maybe just leave your home on the MLS for a week and see if, or 10 days, and see how many offers you take in and if they're satisfactory. I also will go over with your listing agent, and maybe in other videos, the process I think is best for that, but we're not going to worry about that right now. So first of all, let's clarify one of the biggest misconceptions. There's a widespread belief all over the internet that the recent changes in how buyer agent compensation are due to California laws. However, I've researched this, and that is not the case. I went back, I already have the other video, I looked up the law, and it still says listing agents can share their commission with buyer's agents, and we certainly know sellers, home sellers themselves, could always offer commissions to buyer's agents. So there's been no change in law. If the law changes, I don't even see how California could stop a home seller from offering compensation to buyer's agents. It's just the way it's done. Because basically, you can look at this whole thing with this lens. Had the National Association of Realtors and the California Association of Realtors made sure there were real estate attorneys advising sellers and real estate attorney advising buyers, all of this probably would not exist. But what's happened is real estate agents were trying to avoid having to pay attorneys. Some of this work is rightfully the work of attorneys. And through forms and I would say I'm smart arrogance, they were, and greed, they were keeping attorneys out of where this should have been happening. Now, let's bring it back. Let's put attorneys back in there so that we can still help sellers sell their home for top dollar. That's all I'm saying. Let's get over this immature idea that there isn't room for attorneys, and let's get the attorneys in the place, protect the buyers, protect the sellers, and sell homes for top dollar. That's the point of this process. Now, I do believe you can talk to your listing agent once you've come here, signed these agreements, gone back and said, I am interested in offering a flat fee to buyer's agents. I'd like to discuss what you think a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $10,000 flat fee would do for my showings. Would it get me more showings? Is that likely to produce more offers? What's the timing? How are we going to do it? Like, for instance, should we put it on your website? Will your broker allow it? Should we put it on social media? Can we do social media marketing where we're announcing open houses and saying, by the way, if you're a real estate agent, bring your buyer. We're offering buyers compensation of this level. Because it's not a change in the law, it just has to be done right. So before a seller offers compensation, they should be aware of the risks, and they should be aware of how they mitigate them, And I've created this whole program to do exactly that. What has actually changed? Well, I think I just covered the changes. Because of the lawsuits, NAR agreed. Buyer agent is another story. The buyer's agents are messed up, probably even worse in my opinion. But there's no field for broadcasting compensation of buyer's agents. NAR and the MLSs are saying, and any website that has listings generated through the MLS, so all those major portals like Zillow and Realtor.com, they're not allowed to have offers of compensation displayed. So there's no displaying. That's what broadcasting. There's no broadcasting offers of compensation to anywhere where there's MLS. There is one question about whether a realtor can have it on their website, but I've got a solution for that too, which we'll get into the final section. Now, there's also no forums for listing agents to discuss this with sellers. And again, that's because I believe someone's been watching my videos and I explain why listing agents are not licensed. They made me smart, but they're not licensed. Consequently, in legal terms, they're not competent to discuss the risks and how to mitigate them, because they're unquestionably risks. If they run afoul of steering rules, if they run afoul of compromising the fiduciary duties of the buyer's agent, that could help the buyer get out, bring lawsuits at any time, even after the closing, to get fees back. So, there are risks of this. I do get calls from buyers, disgruntled buyers, saying they should have disclosed these things to me. How can I go after them? Well, if they also compensated your buyer agent incorrectly, well, that's an easy way in. That's like a sure winner. And then maybe you'll get more to cover the fact that the foundation had cracks and it wasn't disclosed, but that the old buyer knew. So those are things that realtors really can't discuss, but they certainly shouldn't leave out of the equation. So California law remains unchanged. This is why it's crucial for realtors and sellers to understand that while the MLS rules have changed, the legal requirements have not. Realtors should be cautious about interpreting and explaining these rules. And here are the rules. Here's the background and the rules, the ones that we're going to address specifically, and we're welcome from realtors and home sellers in the Q&As I'm going to have in the future to bring up other points, but I'm going to focus on these. First of all, the DOJ wanted to decouple commissions. So I think if they're decoupled in the beginning, that's good, but eventually you're even if you're waiting for a buyer to come along, if a buyer asks for compensation, at that point, and the realtor's helping you fill out the forms, at that point, it's going to be discussed again. So I think it's decoupling. I think the way to satisfy the DOJ, in my opinion, is to decouple the conversations for at least 24 hours after the listing. I think a listing agent should just say, hey, for your protection and ours with respect to the DOJ, we're not going to discuss buyer agent compensation today, but let me just say, I'm going to leave that choice up to you. It could be zero, and then it could change to more later, and you can pick those amounts. And I've got an attorney's website called Certified Seller, or whatever the name is. Right now, this is going to be on winnerstrike.com. Whatever that name is, I'll send you there. You can look at attorney's videos. You can get certified that you've seen the risks and you discuss the benefits. And then you come back with a piece of paper saying, I've discussed this, or I had a chance to discuss it with the attorney. I chose not to talk to the attorney, but I watched the videos. I understand the risks. I want to accept the risks. And this is the level of compensation, this range, or no, or I am willing to pay, but I want to discuss it with you. So that's what this process is about. Steering. Another major concern, this one's a little trickier, is steering. The DOJ, I think, held this cudgel, this hammer, this anvil over the National Association of Realtors' head and said that by offering compensation to buyers and to buyers' agents, you are letting those buyers' agents take their buyers and steer them to the properties that are offering them more money. Now, steering is a very loaded word in federal law and Department of Justice law, and it basically means it's a lot. It's in discrimination cases, and it causes I could see why they're correct. There's no doubt at times, if you offer, if the customary amount that people are offering in your area is 3%, and you were to put 5% on the MLS, and you were going to go to the realtor meetings, you're going to get lots of agents out to see your home. That doesn't mean they're going to sell it, but even agents from other areas, either agents, like let's say your home's at $1 million, agents and you say, hey, look, this home show is great. It's on the border with La Jolla. It's not in La Jolla, but it's improved, and it looks like, and it's better than the La Jolla properties, and it's got just as good of views, if not better. So although it's not the La Jolla address, if you've got someone who's not looking to go into La Jolla schools, but wants everything else about La Jolla, but better, come see here. Like if you go to the meeting and you tell that to the agent, you're saying, by the way, just to come out and show, if we do close, we're going to give a % bonus or 2% bonus. Trust me, that's a real life example. That got showings, that got a house sold, and we got it after the person who approved the property, who has a license. It's not really their job, but they had a lot, they're a renovator. They came to me and we got it done. We got it sold, and we got it sold at a good price. And I remember, this was very important. This agent was really good at what he did, very educated, knew the prices in La Jolla because he was a La Jolla agent, and explained every time. And we saw the buyer, like we go out, they wanted some repairs, they did the walkthrough, they were getting nervous. This guy was explaining, and they were like, thank him. You're right, I'm just worried about the money. It's a lot of money for me, but you're right, it's a great deal. I mean, like this guy was good, right? So you need those kind of agents sometimes when you're having, in a down market, when lots of buyers are scared, when buyers are paying more, when buyers are having to pay cash because it doesn't appraise, because the property is better than the comps. I mean, there's so many times, and just frankly, you offer an extra % at the caravan meeting, the caravan is going to be better attended. And those people might tell their buyers when they hadn't really been thinking about the property. So there's many, many reasons why you would offer compensation to buyer's agents. And with respect to steering, I don't think this tool should be removed, because by offering compensation ahead of time in the proper context, not in the beginning, but maybe waiting a week, you're going to give, okay, all the buyers had a chance to come out and see the property and make offers on the property without the benefit of, or without steering that first week or that first 10 days or whatever you choose is the right amount of time. Now, you've incentivized buyer's agents to come out and see the property and communicate with their buyer's agents because they're getting all their interested buyers, and maybe it piques some interest. Those buyers could come out to see the property. Now, let's say some are from communities that the DOJ wants to protect, or they're worried that they're being discriminated against, or they're worried that there's some sort of like, we don't want to sell to those kind of people in this neighborhood. Whatever that is, old people, young people, whatever it is. I hate to try to divide right now. I'm against division, and I know that's probably going to piss some people off, but I really do think, if we're looking for utopia, we're not seeing each other's differences, we're seeing each other's similarities, and that would be the long-term goal, I would hope, for the law. And trust me, I understand I'm pissing people off when I said that. I'm not trying to do that. I'm talking about in terms of what the law should be promoting. In this case, if the law is trying to protect certain areas and certain classes, well, wouldn't it be better to have a broadcast, an advertised level of compensation that's set, like 2%, rather than letting it be an ad hoc basis? Oh, this buyer and that agent, I don't like those people as much. I don't think they're a good fit for my home, but those people, my neighbors would like them. I'll sell the home for less to them for less than these people. Isn't that what we're trying to avoid? And doesn't a unilateral broadcasted offer of compensation improve that scenario? Like, I don't think the DOJ is going to win on this steering argument if there's lawyers involved and it's done properly. I'm not even afraid of it. I'm going to do it in my practice because it doesn't necessarily make sense. We do it, you wait a week, everyone had a chance, then you do your best to sell your home. And my point would be, home sellers can do it. I think lawyers can help people do it. So why can't, in the right circumstances, an agent do it? It's just that an agent's not licensed to talk about how to protect against it and when the timing is and all the things. Like, there's lots of variables. My process is going to be narrowed down to a good process. If I'm talking to agents and they want to do it differently, and we remember to make notes about that, and their seller wants to talk to me about it, I'll be happy to explain the pros and cons of that agent's approach. And if I hear great approaches, maybe I'll even change the whole program. But right now, we're going to make a program that I believe is designed to minimize the risks to sellers and agents as best we can. Now, this one's also interesting. I can't believe how long this one's taking. But I feel like I'm hitting all the points. Fiduciary duty. Now, the DOJ in the no-select case said, and it was kind of flippant, but it was very, I thought, cutting. They said, besides, I'm sure most buyers would like to know that their agent wasn't compromised into having them pay too much for the property just so they can make more money. That's a complete paraphrase of what they said. Theirs was much more pithy, but that was the point. That when you're offering a 3%, if you can get your buyer to pay $100,000 more, you're as an agent, you just made $3,000, which is not an insignificant amount of money. So I think, and I'm not saying this is an absolute rule. Like maybe as a seller, you're not worried about it. Maybe your agent's not worried about it. But like if I were offering 2% compensation on $1 million home, I would just broadcast the compensation as $20,000. If I wound up selling the house for $950 or $9, so be it. I'm still paying that $20,000 instead of 19 or wherever the 2% would have been. And if that's a concern, then just start off a little lower than the 2%. But pick an offer of compensation that is a flat fee. In my opinion, it just takes out one of the biggest concerns. Now, are there other ways to protect against compromising fiduciary duty? Yeah, and that's what, I'm not going to go into that here, but that's what this entire process is designed to do. It all works together. So, now, price fixing allegations. This one's easy. I think it's kind of gone for now, as long as the realtors are decoupling the compensation question. If they're walking in and just discussing their compensation with the listing agent and say, we're going to talk about buyer agent compensation after you've had a chance to go. I work with an attorney. He set up this website. There's a series of videos there for you to watch. Obviously, I have to make a short version of this one. And after that, we'll talk to you about buyer agent compensation. But because of class action rules and because I want to protect you and your interests and my brokerage's interests, it's just so much easier that we're going to let the compensation be in your court. And you can offer 0 to whatever amount you'd like to offer. And you can change it as long as we don't confuse the marketplace. But we can start off at 0, which we're going to do for at least a day. But maybe after a week or 10 days, you want to move it up to whatever you've discussed. And so after you talk to the attorney and you come back with the form saying you've understood the materials, we can discuss this further. And then we can talk about broadcasting your offers or advertising your offers of compensation. So now, there was price fixing allegations. I think that's covered. Paying the other side to negotiate against the seller. Well, this, as a seller, you're not really, this is really, because I want both sides to be lawyered up. I want the sellers to be aware of the benefits and the detriments of offering compensation to buyer's agents. And Mr. Seller, one of them is obviously, if you're putting an intelligent buyer agent on the buyer's team, they may be able to negotiate a better terms with you. Hopefully you've got multiple offers and all of a sudden their ability to negotiate becomes much less important. But in a slow market with only one offer, a buyer agent might do a good job for their buyers, just like your listing agent might do a good job for you. But in the end, you don't have to sell if you're unhappy. Right? And if you don't want to put a buyer agent on your team, just keep it at 0. Let the buyers pay for their agent themselves. Now, legal ramifications. Okay, well, we've got significant scrutiny of the whole process, and that's really what this is designed to do. Steering is the one that we're going to have to be aware of to make sure we do things that don't amount to steering. And I really like the two-step timing process. We just discussed that. Oh, okay. So timing of discussions, I think I've covered that now. I think it should be after the listing agreement. Maybe discussion generically. How much going to play the buyer? Well, I'm just going to tell. I'm sure this listing agent is going to have a script, but the point is, you can offer 0 and you can offer 3%. But I really don't want to discuss this with you today because you can see it's not on my forms. This is a choice by the lawyers of the California Association of Realtors to decouple buyer agent compensation from listing agent compensation to protect brokerages. But I think it can also protect you from some of the concerns that DOJ had. So today we're going to talk about this. Now, nothing's going to change as it used to be. If tomorrow, after you've signed this form that you've gotten from winnerscheck.com or wherever, I just don't want to pick the wrong name right now. But you go there, you download the form, you come back to me, you say you're aware of the risks and you want to offer compensation, you can write in there whatever amount you want, and I'm working for you. We're willing to do it. Now, at that point in time, I'll tell you what's going on in the marketplace and the timing of how it works, but we're going to decouple this right now. So, again, the benefits of lawyers, I think I've adequately covered. So in conclusion, understanding the difference between rule changes and actual law is a key to making informed decisions as a seller. We're going to have to keep you up to date on that because I would imagine there's people lobbying California to change those laws as of January, and I really think it would be bad news for sellers if those laws get changed. Now, is it important to approach buyer agent compensation so that you get a clear understanding of the landscape? In our next video, we'll talk about how we can implement these strategies and the importance of integrating legal protections. I think I sort of covered that in here. And so in the future, well, we'll just go into more in depth and I'll go over the forms in the next video. All right, thanks. Talk to you later. Bye. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more. And right now, this, how do I go back? Let's see if it goes back properly. No, I'm in admin mode now. So anyway, this is part of my course that currently is accessible at winnerscheck.com. However, it's really going to be a separate process for listing agents and a separate certification process for the buyers. These videos will be in there, but your listing agent will know where to send you. Thanks. Talk to you later. Bye.